The silver vessel arrived above Earth without announcement. Towering in scale, it dwarfed every human-built station, gliding through orbit with the sleek menace of an apex predator. The alien warship positioned itself like it already owned the stars around the blue world below. Inside its grand chamber stood Ambassador Keithvar, tall and regal in the ornate battle armor of the Zetharian Empire. His pale blue skin shimmered under the chamber lights, and his glowing eyes emitted a steady luminance that unnerved most intelligent species. He had delivered ultimatums to 47 planets before this. Every time the outcome was the same: terror, disorder, capitulation. He expected no difference here. Humans were an infant civilization, barely emerging from their cradle. Their technology was crude. Their ships still relied on fusion drives. They possessed no energy shielding, no quantum munitions, no understanding of stellar manipulation. To the mighty Zetharian Empire, they were vermin. "Ready the transmission hall," Keithvar commanded his attendant. "Let's conclude this quickly." The aide, a younger Zetharian named Velmar, gave a low bow. "Yes, Ambassador, the humans have accepted your request. They call their ruling body the United Earth Defense Council." Keithvar laughed, the brittle sound echoing like shattering crystal. Defense Council? Against what exactly? The meeting occurred aboard a modest human orbital station. Keithvar was mildly startled by the simplicity. The walls were solid steel, coated in dull white paint. The furnishings were constructed of wood and fabric, materials long obsolete in Zetharian space. There were no energy fields, no suspended holograms, no signs of quantum computation. It felt like walking into the past, perhaps 10 centuries. Seated at a plain table was Secretary General Martinez, a woman of middle years with streaks of gray in her hair and steady brown eyes. Her uniform was a flat blue, free of medals or insignia. 3 other humans stood behind her, equally plain and unarmed. "Welcome to Earth Space, Ambassador," Martinez said in flawless Zetharian. "Please be seated." Keithvar remained standing, part of the formal display. He activated his personal interface, and the chamber filled with towering holograms. The first showed the Zetharian armada advancing toward Earth, 200 colossal dreadnoughts, each capable of erasing a city. The second was a brutal archive, the annihilation of Arcturus Prime, a planet that had defied them only 5 years ago. "I am Ambassador Keithvar of the Zetharian Empire," he declared, his voice augmented and echoing with power. "I extend greetings from Emperor Zonth, sovereign of 7 star systems and vanquisher of 47 worlds." The humans stared in silence. By now, Keithvar usually saw fear, trembling limbs, widened eyes. Some delegates collapsed upon viewing the footage of Arcturus Prime. But these humans didn't flinch. They simply sat still and watched. They watched him with those strange, unblinking eyes. "Your species has been deemed worthy of integration into the Empire," Keithvar continued, his voice cold and precise. "You will surrender within 72 standard galactic hours. All military operations will cease. All existing governments will be dissolved. Your population will be reassigned to serve the greater glory of our civilization." He paused deliberately. This was the moment when most began pleading. "If you refuse," he said, "your planet will suffer the fate of Arcturus Prime. Total annihilation. Every city eradicated. Every ship reduced to ash. Every last human dead. This is not a dialogue. This is final." The room went still. Keithvar observed the humans closely. Martinez leaned back casually, lifted a small ceramic cup, and took a calm sip of what smelled like brewed caffeine. She set it down gently, then locked eyes with him. "Thank you for the message, Ambassador," she said. "We decline." Keithvar blinked. "I'm sorry. What did you say?" "We decline your ultimatum," Martinez repeated evenly. Earth will not surrender. Remove your forces from our system within 48 hours, or we will treat your presence as hostile. The stillness that followed was thick and absolute. Keithvar stared at the human delegate, struggling to process the words. In all 47 prior conquests, not one species had ever refused. Not after seeing the fleet, not after witnessing Arcturus Prime. You don't understand, Keithvar said slowly. We command 200 warships, each one armed with weapons capable of fracturing your planet's crust. Your military couldn't scratch even one of our vessels. One of the humans behind Martinez stepped forward, a tall figure with silvered hair and the unmistakable poise of command. I'm Admiral Chen, commander of the Earth Defense Force, he said calmly. We understand your capabilities very well, Ambassador. The question is, do you understand ours? Velmar leaned close to Keithvar's ear and whispered, Sir, perhaps they fail to grasp the scale of our might. I could show them the vegan massacre records? Keithvar waved him off, leaning in instead, his glowing gaze locked on Martinez. You can't be serious, he said. You're proposing war against the Zetherian Empire. We've crushed empires 1,000 times your size. Martinez rose slowly. She was physically smaller than him, yet her presence grew with every word. Let me be clear, Ambassador. We are not frightened by you. We are not impressed by threats, and we will never surrender. She walked to a window overlooking the planet below. Earth spun silently in the black. Blue oceans, white clouds, and vast continents shining in the sunlight. You see that? She asked. That's our home. Every human who has ever lived either came from there or bled for it. We've fought each other for millennia, survived global plagues, extinction-level events, even our own worst instincts. Do you think we'll collapse now because your ships are bigger? For the first time in his career, Keithvar felt something foreign creeping into his mind. Uncertainty. These humans weren't behaving like the others. No trembling, no desperate appeals, no bargain for survival. You don't know what you're dealing with, he said, voice rising. The Ninth Fleet has never lost a battle. Admiral Zondar commands weapons that could turn your sun into a dying star. Martinez smiled, and it wasn't a fearful or nervous gesture. It was calm, composed, unsettling. Ambassador, you now have 47 hours and 23 minutes remaining, she said. We advise you use them carefully. Admiral Chen stepped forward again. Allow me to escort you back to your ship, Ambassador. I'm sure you have reports to file. As they walked the corridors of the station, Keithvar made one final attempt. Admiral, be reasonable. Your species could thrive in the Empire. Serve loyally and rise. Resist, and you'll be gone in a week. Chen halted and turned to him. Tell me, Ambassador, he said quietly. How many did you conquer without firing a single shot? 39, Keithvar replied instinctively. And how many fought back? Keithvar hesitated. 8. And they were all eliminated. Chen gave a slow nod. Thought so. Well, you're about to meet the first species that fought back and didn't lose. Absurd, Keithvar snapped. You have crude tech, chemical thrusters and fusion cores. We possess quantum weaponry and devices that bend reality. Chen answered plainly. Yes, you do, and it won't change the outcome. They reached the docking bay, Keithvar's shuttle already waiting. As the ambassador prepared to board, Chen spoke again. Ambassador, when you deliver your report, be sure to mention one critical detail. We tried to warn you. What follows is your decision, not ours. Keithvar entered the shuttle, thoughts churning. In 47 campaigns, he had never seen anything like this. The humans were either irrationally brave or dangerously foolish. As the shuttle lifted toward the Ninth Fleet, he hoped for foolishness. Because if it was courage, and they could back it up, Then the Empire was about to confront something it had never faced before, a species that believed in victory and refused to yield. Admiral Zondar stood at the helm of his flagship, the colossal dreadnought Eternal Conquest. Beyond the viewports, the rest of the Ninth Fleet maneuvered into position around Earth's moon. 200 warships, each a marvel of Zetharian design. Even the smallest among them dwarfed anything in the human arsenal. The largest dreadnoughts could rend planetary crusts like paper. Status, Zondar ordered. Commander Kethran, his tactical officer, reviewed his command console. All ships have assumed position, Admiral. The human forces are arrayed ahead. Their full fleet is present. 43 vessels in total. Zondar nearly laughed aloud. 43 ships against his armada? It was like gnats organizing to, repel a hurricane. Display their formation. The main screen shimmered to life, rendering tactical visuals of the human fleet. Zondar analyzed the spread with the practiced eye of a man who had led wars across star systems for 300 years. The enemy ships were unimpressive, solid metal frames powered by archaic fusion engines. His scanners detected no shield signatures. Their largest vessel was barely the length of a Zetharian corvette. "What weapons do they possess?" he asked. "Kinetic. Batteries, mostly," Kethran replied. "Some missile platforms. Primitive nuclear payloads, fission-based. None capable of breaching our shields or disrupting our formation." He highlighted the enemy positions across the map. "They've formed a sparse screen, defensive posture between us and their planet. There's no indication they intend to concentrate fire." Zondar frowned. Either they were entirely unskilled in spatial warfare, or they were hiding something. Based on the tech level, he leaned toward incompetence. "Sir," the comms officer said, "we're receiving a surrender." "Of course they did," Zondar replied dismissively. "They always refuse at first." "What was their reaction when you revealed the fleet?" Kethvar hesitated, and that hesitation carried weight. "That's what disturbs me, Admiral. They weren't afraid. Their leader, a woman named Martinez, remained completely composed. She even issued an ultimatum of her own." "They gave us an ultimatum?" Zondar chuckled. "And what was their grand demand?" "That we withdraw from their system within 48 hours. This time Zondar burst into laughter, genuine, incredulous laughter. "Withdraw? The Ninth Fleet? Ordered around by primitives?" "What did you tell them?" "I laid everything out. I showed them the destruction of Arcturus Prime. I explained the consequences of resistance." Kethvar paused again. "But they didn't care, Admiral. They acted as though victory was already theirs." Zondar regarded his old friend closely. On the screen, Kethvar wasn't prone to fantasy or panic. If he looked uneasy, there might be something worth noting. Did they display any advanced weapons? Anything unexpected? No, sir. All their systems appeared basic, low-grade tech. Then what's bothering you? It was their presence, the way they spoke, the certainty in their tone. It felt like they knew something we didn't. "They know they're finished," Zondar said coldly. "That's all. How long until their deadline expires?" 18 hours, sir." "Excellent. That gives us time to finalize our bombardment vectors. As soon as their window closes, we begin." The next 18 hours crept by with mechanical precision. Zondar watched his fleet align into perfect assault formation. The humans made no aggressive move. Their ships remained stationed between Earth and the Ninth Fleet, forming a passive barrier. They neither advanced nor locked weapons. They just held. It was unlike anything Zondar had seen in a military standoff. Typically, when faced with inevitable destruction, species either capitulated instantly or launched hopeless attacks, trying to die with some dignity. But not the humans. They simply waited, calmly as if they had forever. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "incoming transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through." The view screen changed to show a human male in a plain blue uniform. He stood on what appeared to be the bridge of one of their outdated vessels. Behind him, others worked quietly at rudimentary control stations. "I'm Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. "Am I speaking to the commanding officer of the invading fleet?" "You are," Xandar responded. "I am Admiral Xandar of the Ninth Fleet. Your ultimatum has expired. This is your final opportunity to surrender before we eliminate your civilization." Chen smiled, just slightly, and Xandar felt the faintest ripple of discomfort. "Admiral, your 48 hours expired 7 minutes ago," Chen said. "You are now in violation of Earth's territorial sovereignty. I am ordering you to vacate this system immediately." Xandar's eyes narrowed. "You're ordering me?" He leaned forward. "Human, are you even aware of what you're facing? Look at my fleet. 200 warships. Each one could obliterate your largest population center, and you dare to give me orders?" "Yes," Chen replied evenly. "I do. Because unlike you, Admiral, I already know what's coming." "What's coming," Xandar sneered, "is the total destruction of your species." Chen calmly shook his head. "No, Admiral. What's coming is your attack. And what follows is when you learn why humanity spent so long hiding in the dark between stars." "Hiding?" Xandar chuckled. "You weren't hiding. You were too backward to even leave your own star system, until recently." Chen's voice stayed even. "We've watched your empire for 40 years, Admiral. We've documented every system you've subjugated, every race you've broken, every atrocity you've committed. And we waited for you to make the mistake of coming for Earth." Xandar felt a strange unease ripple down his spine. The human's voice carried no fear, no desperation, only a cold assurance. Most species would be begging for mercy by now. "You're bluffing," Xandar said. "You have nothing. Crude ships, crude tech, crude minds." "I'll make this simple," Chen replied. "In 60 seconds, I'll give the order to fire. When we do, you'll have one chance to surrender. Just one. After that, your entire fleet ceases to exist." Xandar scowled at the screen. "You'll give us the chance to surrender? You have 43 ships. We have 200. And you think we'll bow to you?" "I hope you will," Chen said flatly. "The alternative will be painful." "You're insane," Xandar snapped. "Maybe," Chen answered. "We'll find out in 30 seconds." Xandar ended the transmission with a snarl and turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare all ships to fire. Target their flagship first. This ends now." 15 seconds to optimal range, Admiral." Xandar focused on the countdown. In moments, the strange. Human bravado would be erased. Their fleet would be ash. Earth would burn. The Empire would claim another system. Another effortless victory. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out. "We're detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the human ships." "What kind of fluctuations?" Xandar barked. I can't say, sir. Nothing in our records matches it." "Are they activating weapons?" "Unknown, sir. The readings don't align with any known weapon signatures." "Admiral," the weapons officer said. "We're in range." Xandar stared at the display. 43 outdated ships faced the Empire's mightiest armada. This should be a massacre. Yet, something about Chen's calmness nagged at him. "Admiral," the communications officer said. "They're transmitting again." On screen, Chen reappeared, utterly composed. "Time's up, Admiral. Final warning. Withdraw now." Xandar's jaw tightened. "All ships, open fire! Annihilate them!" The fleet responded instantly. 200 Zephyrian warships unleashed their arsenal in unison. Plasma lances that split moons, quantum torpedoes that bypassed shields, gravitational warheads that folded armor like paper. The sky lit up like a dying star. The barrage struck the human flagship, a small vessel labeled UES Indomitable. And then, nothing. Everything stopped. Every beam, every torpedo, every missile disappeared. No impacts, no explosions. They simply vanished. On screen, Chen smiled. "You've made a very bad decision, Admiral," he said. "Now let me show you what our weapons look like." Xandar blinked in disbelief. His tactical systems were incoherent. His fleet had just delivered the firepower of a supernova, and the humans hadn't even flinched. "Status!" he snapped. "Massive energy distortions detected around the enemy vessels," his sensor officer said, clearly rattled. "It's like some kind of field, an anti-attack envelope. It's deleting incoming fire." "Impossible," Xandar whispered. "Nothing can erase quantum-class weaponry." "Admiral!" shouted the weapons officer. "The humans are firing back." Xandar turned to the screen. The human ships were launching what appeared to be missiles, slow-moving, almost casual, dozens of them. Nothing that could threaten an Imperial fleet. "Activate defense grids," Xandar ordered. "Those things won't penetrate our shields." But what followed defied every law of warfare. The first missile reached the dreadnought Conqueror, one of the fleet's most formidable warships. It drifted toward the vessel, not accelerating, not maneuvering. It didn't detonate against the shield. It didn't even touch it. It passed. Through it. No explosion, no flare, no sound. Then the Conqueror died. Lights out. Engines off. Weapon arrays inert. One moment, it was a symbol of power. The next, it was scrap. "Conqueror, report!" Xandar yelled. Only static answered. "Admiral," said the comms officer, eyes wide. "I still detect life aboard, but no energy signatures. Nothing. It's like the ship's power grid was erased." More missiles reached other vessels. Same result. They glided through shields, like mist, made contact, and then silence. Systems shut down. Lights flickered and went out. One by one, warships that had survived 100 battles became cold metal coffins. Xandar's breath quickened. "Why aren't they exploding?" "What kind of weapon does that?" The weapons officer was pale. "They're neutralizing ships, sir. Not destroying. Just shutting them down." Xandar stared at the field of ships dying without fire. There was no damage, no radiation, only silence. A calm, terrifying stillness. And then Chen's voice returned. "Admiral," he said, "humanity didn't build weapons to kill. We built weapons to end wars. We're made of air." The destroyer Swift Death was next, suffering the same grim fate as Conqueror. Total power loss. Complete systems failure. "How are they doing this?" Xandar demanded. "Unknown, sir," his science officer replied. "These missiles seem to disrupt quantum energy fields at the molecular level. I've never seen anything like it." "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Xandar shouted. "Don't let those missiles hit you." But the humans were just getting started. Another volley launched from their fleet. These missiles were different. They glowed with an eerie blue shimmer. The first struck the heavy cruiser Dominator. What happened next would scar Xandar's mind forever. The Dominator began to decay. Its pristine hull rapidly oxidized, rusted, and crumbled as if centuries had passed in seconds. Pieces of plating flaked away. Entire sections collapsed. The crew's transmissions were panicked and fading, voices aging by decades in minutes. "By the Emperor's blood," Xandar whispered. "They're weaponizing time." A third wave launched. These missiles glowed softly white. The Eternal Glory, a flagship battleship, was struck mid-section, and a perfect black void appeared in its core. The space that once contained armor, decks, and bulkheads simply vanished. "Matter conversion weapons," the science officer breathed. "They're converting the ship's atoms into raw energy." Xandar's fleet wasn't dying in glorious battle. It wasn't resisting to the last breath as proud Zaharian warriors should. It was being undone, systematically, precisely, by science that shouldn't exist. Some ships flickered and went dark. Others withered into ancient husks. Still more simply lost entire chunks of their structure like pieces erased from reality. "All ships scatter," Xandar ordered. "Break formation. Engage from maximum range." But it was pointless. The human weapons didn't seem to care about distance, shields, or armor. The dreadnought Infinite Power attempted an FTL escape. Just as it jumped, a missile struck. The vessel flickered violently, caught between dimensional states until its structure collapsed inward. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "we've lost 60% of the fleet. The humans haven't taken a scratch." Xandar looked at the battle display. It wasn't a battle at all. It was a massacre. The mighty Ninth Fleet, conqueror of worlds, was being unraveled by weapons beyond comprehension. "Admiral," the communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship." Admiral Chen's face appeared again. He looked calm, almost sorrowful. "Admiral Xandar," Chen said, "I'm going to offer you something we've never given an aggressive species before. Surrender now, and we'll cease fire. Your surviving crew will be rescued and treated well. You have my word." "Treated well?" Xandar repeated, stunned. "You're destroying my fleet." "We're disabling your fleet," Chen corrected. "If we meant to destroy it, you'd all be dead already. These are our non-lethal weapons, Admiral. Non-lethal?" Xandar stared at the screen in disbelief. "My ships are being torn apart." "Your ships are being neutralized," Chen replied patiently. "Most of your crews are still alive. The time-based weapons are tuned to non-fatal, aging. The matter converters are targeting empty hull sections. We're trying very hard not to kill anyone." Xandar felt the reality around him twist. Non-lethal. These devastating technologies, capable of aging steel, erasing matter, were non-lethal to the humans. "What are your lethal weapons like?" he asked, barely audible. Chen's face darkened. "You don't want to find out, Admiral. Please, order your fleet to surrender." "We can end this right now." Xandar turned toward his bridge crew. Every officer was watching him silently, waiting for the command. Through the viewports, he saw his legacy, the invincible Zaharian fleet, reduced to drifting debris in mere minutes. "Sir," his weapons officer said quietly, "our main batteries are still functional. We could target their planet directly." For one vengeful second, Xandar considered it. One last strike, a final act of defiance. Show the humans the Zaharian Empire wouldn't bow without a cost. But Chen spoke again, as if reading his thoughts. "I strongly advise against targeting our planet. You've seen our fleet weapons. Now you're considering our planetary defense systems. Don't." "You can't defend an entire world," Xandar growled. "We can," Chen said simply. "But if you attack Earth, we'll stop. We're made of air." The destroyer Swift Death was next, suffering the same grim fate as Conqueror. Total power loss. Complete systems failure. "How are they doing this?" Xandar demanded. "Unknown, sir," his science officer replied. "These missiles seem to disrupt quantum energy fields at the molecular level. I've never seen anything like it." "All ships, evasive maneuvers!" Xandar shouted. "Don't let those missiles hit you!" But the humans were just getting started. Another volley launched from their fleet. These missiles were different. They glowed with an eerie blue shimmer. The first struck the heavy cruiser Dominator. What happened next would scar Xandar's mind forever. The Dominator began to decay. Its pristine hull rapidly oxidized, rusted, and crumbled as if centuries had passed in seconds. Pieces of plating flaked away. Entire sections collapsed. The crew's transmissions were panicked and fading, voices aging by decades in minutes. "By the Emperor's blood," Xandar whispered. "They're weaponizing time." A third wave launched. These missiles glowed softly white. The Eternal Glory, a flagship battleship, was struck mid-section, and a perfect black void appeared. in its core. The space that once contained armor, decks, and bulkheads simply vanished. Matter conversion weapons, the science officer breathed. They're converting the ship's atoms into raw energy. Xandar's fleet wasn't dying in glorious battle. It wasn't resisting to the last breath as proud Zaharian warriors should. It was being undone, systematically, precisely, by science that shouldn't exist. Some ships flickered and went dark. Others withered into ancient husks. Still more simply lost entire chunks of their structure like pieces erased from reality. "All ships scatter," Xandar ordered. "Break formation. Engage from maximum range." But it was pointless. The human weapons didn't seem to care about distance, shields, or armor. The dreadnought Infinite Power attempted an FTL escape. Just as it jumped, a missile struck. The vessel flickered violently, caught between dimensional states until its structure collapsed inward. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "we've lost 60% of the fleet. The humans haven't taken a scratch." Xandar looked at the battle display. It wasn't a battle at all. It was a massacre. The mighty Ninth Fleet, conqueror of worlds, was being unraveled by weapons beyond comprehension. "Admiral," the communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship." Admiral Chen's face appeared again. He looked calm, almost sorrowful. "Admiral Xandar," Chen said, "I'm going to offer you something we've never given an aggressive species before. Surrender now, and we'll cease fire. Your surviving crew will be rescued and treated well. You have my word." "Treated well?" Xandar repeated, stunned. "You're destroying my fleet." "We're disabling your fleet," Chen corrected. "If we meant to destroy it, you'd all be dead already. These are our non-lethal weapons, Admiral. Non-lethal?" Xandar stared at the screen in disbelief. "My ships are being torn apart." "Your ships are being neutralized," Chen replied patiently. "Most of your crews are still alive. The time-based weapons are tuned to non-fatal, aging. The matter converters are targeting empty hull sections. We're trying very hard not to kill anyone." Xandar felt the reality around him twist. Non-lethal. These devastating technologies, capable of aging steel, erasing matter, were non-lethal to the humans. "What are your lethal weapons like?" he asked, barely audible. Chen's face darkened. "You don't want to find out, Admiral. Please, order your fleet to surrender. We can end this right now." Xandar turned toward his bridge crew. Every officer was watching him silently, waiting for the command. Through the viewports, he saw his legacy, the invincible Zaharian fleet, reduced to drifting debris in mere minutes. "Sir," his weapons officer said quietly, "our main batteries are still functional. We could target their planet directly." For one vengeful second, Xandar considered it. One last strike, a final act of defiance. Show the humans the Zaharian Empire wouldn't bow without a cost. But Chen spoke again, as if reading his thoughts. "I strongly advise against targeting our planet. You've seen our fleet weapons. Now you're considering our planetary defense systems. Don't." "You can't defend an entire world," Xandar growled. "We can," Chen said simply. "But if you attack Earth, we'll stop." "We won. You lost. Why are you treating us like guests instead of captives?" Chen pulled over a chair and sat beside the bed. "Captain, can I ask you something? Of all the worlds your empire has conquered, how many actually struck first?" Tar paused, to think. "None. We always attacked first. It's more efficient that way. And how many of those worlds had ever harmed your people? Harm us?" He looked puzzled. "They didn't need to. They had resources we needed. Land we wanted. So you invaded peaceful civilizations and enslaved or killed their people because it was convenient." "It's not personal," Veltar replied. "It's just how our empire functions. The strong rule the weak. That's natural law." Chen sat silently for a while. Captain, let me tell you something about humanity. For most of our history, we thought the same way. The powerful dominated the powerless. We fought wars endlessly, enslaved each other, committed atrocities, all because we believed it was natural. What changed? Veltar asked. We matured, Chen replied softly. We learned that just because you can hurt someone doesn't mean you should. We discovered that strength without compassion is nothing but cruelty, and we chose to be better. Dr. Kim looked up from where she was reviewing his medical chart. Captain, can I ask something? Do you have a family waiting for you? Yes, Veltar said carefully. A mate and 2 young ones. What are their names? Why do you ask? Just curious. Dr. Kim smiled. I have a family too, a husband and a daughter. He studied her expression. She looked genuinely interested, not interrogating him. My mate is named Silwyn. My children are Terval and Kanara. Those are lovely names, Dr. Kim said. How old are they? Terval is 23 standard years. Kanara is 18. Are they in the military? Terval is. He serves as a weapons officer aboard a destroyer in the 7th Fleet. Kanara is still in the academy. Dr. Kim nodded. I imagine they're worried about you. We should send them a message. Let them know you're alive. Tar felt an unfamiliar tightness in his chest. You'd do that? Of course. No one should live with that kind of fear. In the days that followed, Veltar spoke with many humans. He expected indoctrination, pressure to switch sides, or at least subtle manipulation. But instead, they just treated him like a fellow being. They asked about his world, his family, his hobbies outside war. They told him about their own lives, their cultures, their loved ones. Dr. Kim shared stories of her daughter, who wanted to follow her into the sciences. Admiral Chen spoke fondly of his wife, a school teacher back on Earth. Marcus, a young engineer, proudly showed photos of his newborn son. During one of these casual conversations, Veltar finally voiced the question haunting him. Why are you doing this? He asked Dr. Kim. Why treat us with kindness? What do you mean? We came to conquer your planet. We would have enslaved your species, slaughtered the rest, yet here you are, offering us hospitality. Why? Dr. Kim paused. Captain, do you know what we discovered when we started observing galactic civilizations? What? We found that most species aren't evil. They're just trapped in systems that reward cruelty. Your empire teaches that conquest is destiny, that power justifies oppression, that the strong should dominate. But that's not your nature. She gestured at the surrounding medbay. Look how you responded to compassion. You're not vengeful or scheming. You're bewildered. Because this feels right. It's what you wish people were like. But it's not how your empire taught you to be. He considered her words. They rang true. The warmth from these humans felt more real than anything he'd known under the Empire's rule. What happens now? He asked. Now, Dr. Kim said gently, we take you home. Kim spoke gently. All of you. We'll fix what ships we can and transport the rest. You'll get back to your families, and then you'll face a choice about the person you want to be. The Empire may tell you that humanity is soft, that our mercy is weakness to be exploited. But you'll know otherwise. You'll remember that we could have annihilated you in an instant, and we didn't. That we chose restraint over wrath. That we treated you with decency when we had every reason not to. Tar pictured his children growing up under the Empire's banner, being molded into conquerors. What if they don't believe us? He asked. What if the Empire refuses to change? Dr. Kim's expression darkened. Then you must decide if you'll be part of the problem or part of the cure. That night, Veltar lay on a clean bunk aboard the human vessel, staring into the endless stars. His mind wrestled with the impossible truth. Humanity could have erased the Ninth Fleet, could have wiped every last Zaharian from the sector, but instead, they offered peace, showed mercy, treated prisoners with dignity. For the first time in his career, the captain questioned everything he'd been taught, everything he thought he knew about strength. 2 weeks passed. Human ships prepared to escort the broken remnants of the Zaharian forces home. Admiral Chen made one final visit. "To Veltar's quarters, Captain," Chen greeted. "When you return to your empire, they'll ask questions. What will you tell them?" Tar turned toward the viewport, watching the ships that had leveled his dreadnought, and then saved his life. "I'll tell them the truth," he said, "that we encountered a species who could have destroyed us, but didn't. And that maybe it's time the Empire redefined what true strength means." Far away, on the crystalline throne of Zephyr Prime, Emperor Xanthak brooded in silence. The throne room echoed with contradiction. Reports lay before him. The Ninth Fleet, gone. Xandar, disgraced. 200 warships, destroyed by a race that barely commands faster-than-light travel. "Lies!" the Emperor thundered, his voice a blade of disbelief. "Cowards, spinning stories to mask their failure." High Admiral Keth Zone stood unmoving before the throne, jaw clenched. Supreme Commander of all Zaharian forces, he did not speak lightly. "Your Imperial Majesty," he began carefully. "I've interrogated the survivors myself, dozens, and the accounts are consistent." He paused. "The humans possess weapons beyond our imagination, technologies we do not comprehend." Xanthak's eyes blazed. "Beyond our understanding." His tone turned venomous. "We are the Empire. There is nothing beyond us." "We'll repair what ships we can," Kim said. "And for those we can't, we'll get you home. You'll see your families again. After that, you choose who you want to become. The Empire might claim humans are weak, that our mercy is a vulnerability to exploit. But you'll know the truth. You'll remember that we could have annihilated you in moments, but chose restraint. You'll remember that when cruelty was an option, we extended kindness." Tar thought of his children, the empire they were being raised in, the planets they might one day be ordered to conquer. "What if they don't believe us?" he asked, quietly. "What if the Empire refuses to change?" Dr. Kim's eyes dimmed with sorrow. "Then you'll face a choice, whether to be part of the problem or part of the solution." That night, Veltar lay in a soft bed aboard the human vessel, staring at unfamiliar constellations. His thoughts churned. The humans could have erased the Ninth Fleet, wiped out every last Zephyrian. Instead, they had chosen to show mercy, to treat prisoners with dignity. For the first time in his life, Captain Veltar wondered, truly wondered, if the Empire had been wrong all along. 2 weeks later, with preparations complete for escorting the survivors home, Admiral Chen made a final visit to Veltar's quarters. "Captain," Chen greeted him, "when you return, they'll demand an explanation. What will you say?" Veltar turned to the window, where the human fleet drifted silently in space, the same ships that had torn his dreadnought apart, and then saved his life. "I'll tell them the truth," he said, "that we encountered a species who had every reason to destroy us and chose to save us instead. And that maybe, just maybe, it's time we rethink what strength really is." Back on Zephyr Prime, Emperor Xanthak lounged on his crystal throne, reviewing dispatches that defied belief. Ninth Fleet, destroyed. Admiral Xandar, disgraced. 200 warships, ruined by a race that had only just discovered faster-than-light travel. "Absurd," Xanthak growled, voice echoing off the diamond walls. "Lies to excuse cowardice." High Admiral Keth Zone, commander of all Zaharian forces, stepped forward, face taut. "Your Majesty, I've questioned dozens of survivors. Their accounts match. The humans possess weapons we don't understand. Technologies that defy logic. The Emperor's eyes flared. We rule 7 star systems. We've subjugated 47 worlds. A primitive upstart from some forgotten planet cannot possess superior firepower. Nevertheless, sire, the evidence is clear. Xanthak slammed a scaled fist against his throne. Summon Admiral Veldar. Have him take the home fleet to this Earth and finish what Xandar could not. A nearby admiral cautiously spoke. Majesty, perhaps we should consider diplomacy. Diplomacy, Xanthak roared. The Empire does not parley with primitives. We conquer. 3 hours later, the home fleet left Zephyr Prime. 300 warships, the largest military force the Empire had ever mobilized. Every dreadnought, every destroyer, every orbital weapon. If the 9th Fleet had fallen by deception or luck, the home fleet would not. This time, Earth would face the full might of Zaharian wrath. From the bridge of the Infinite Emperor, Admiral Veldar took no chances. He ordered the fleet to strike from long range. Their target, the human home world itself. There would be no negotiations, no delays. 6 days later, they reached the Sol system and found a single human ship waiting. One vessel, against the entire home fleet. Sir, the COAM's officer reported, the human ship is transmitting. On screen, the main display blinked to life. A familiar face appeared, calm, composed. Secretary General Martinez, the same human who had refused their ultimatum. She sat in what looked like a simple office. Greetings, Admiral, she said. I'm Secretary General Martinez of the United Earth Defense Council. Welcome to our system. I am Admiral Veldar of the Zephyrian Home Fleet, he answered. I've come to finish the conquest your species postponed. Martinez nodded, unfazed. Yes, we heard about Xandar's fleet. A tragedy. So much suffering. All from a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Veldar scoffed. You think we're allies? No, she said. But we're not your enemies either. We want to help. He barked a laugh. Help? You destroyed our fleet. We disabled your fleet, Martinez corrected, then offered medical care, comfort, and safe passage home. Is that how your enemies behave? Veldar hesitated. The reports from 9th Fleet survivors had mentioned strange human mercy. But he'd assumed it was propaganda. What is it you want? He asked, more cautious now. To return your people, Martinez said. All surviving members of the 9th Fleet are currently aboard my vessel. We also want to discuss the immediate end of your empire's aggressive expansion and the liberation of every enslaved world. Veldar stared hard at the screen. You're asking us to surrender? We're asking you to stop hurting innocent lives, Martinez replied. There's enough room in this galaxy for everyone, Admiral. No need for conquest or chains. The strong rule the weak, Veldar said instinctively. It's the way of nature. No, Martinez said gently. It's what tyrants tell themselves so they can sleep at night. The truly strong don't dominate. They protect. They shield others from harm. Enough, Veldar snapped. You have one ship against 300 of ours. Surrender or be annihilated. Martinez exhaled. Admiral, I want to show you something. Watch carefully. On the tactical readout, every ship in the Zephyrian fleet flickered. Then, for 60 seconds, total darkness. No power, no weapons, no oxygen. Then, just as suddenly, everything rebooted. How? Veldar whispered. That, Martinez said calmly, was a sample. We could have left your vessels drifting, helpless. We could have shut down your life support permanently. But we didn't, because we are not your enemy. Veldar looked around his command deck. His crew stared at their displays, stunned. The humans had disabled their entire force without firing a shot. What are you? He asked. We're the ones who've watched your empire brutalize others for 40 years, Martinez said. We're the people who finally said enough. And we're the civilization determined to make sure you never harm anyone again. You can't stop the Empire, Veldar said, but without certainty. Admiral, she said evenly, we just shut down 300 of your ships. How many do you think we'd need to disable your entire empire? The answer chilled him. If one ship could do this to a fleet, then 3 ships or 30 could reduce the Empire's military to rubble. What do you want from us? He asked quietly. Peace, Martinez replied. True peace, not the peace of submission, but the peace of shared progress. You have a choice. Go back and convince your emperor to talk or watch as we dismantle every war fleet you send. And if we choose to negotiate, then we help you evolve, she said. We'll share technology, knowledge, resources. We'll help you build a society that thrives through unity, not conquest. Veldar thought of the survivor reports. The humans' mercy, their care for injured Zephyrians. They had treated their enemies as equals. How do I know you're telling the truth? Because, Martinez said softly, if we wanted to destroy you, you wouldn't be here asking that question. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Silence filled the bridge. Around him, officers looked to Veldar, 300 ships against one. And somehow, he was sure the human vessel could erase them all. Admiral, his comms officer said, we're receiving a message from Zephyr Prime. The Emperor requests your report. Veldar paused. What could he tell Xanthak? That humanity wielded powers beyond imagination, that they spared their enemies, that their mercy wasn't weakness, but strength. Sir, the officer prompted again. Tell the Emperor, Veldar said carefully, that the High Command must convene, and that he needs to hear some very unsettling news. 2 days later, Veldar stood before the crystal throne again. This time, he was not alone. Captain Veltar stood with him, as did a dozen other Ninth Fleet survivors. Together, they told the Emperor the truth about Earth. They could have destroyed us, Veltar said. Every ship, every soldier. But they didn't. They saved us and brought us home. Their technology makes ours look primitive, added Commander Crone. And yet they used the gentlest tools at their disposal. They didn't want to hurt us. Emperor Xanthak listened, each word making his fury rise. Finally, he stood. Lies, he shouted. All of it, fabrications. No race is that powerful, no species that merciful. Your Majesty, Veldar said quietly, what if it's true? The question settled over the chamber like smoke. What if the humans were everything the survivors claimed? What if the mighty Zephyrian Empire was just a bully, finally met with someone stronger? Majesty, said High Admiral Kethzan, we face a choice. Continue our wars and see what other weapons they haven't shown us, or respond to their call for diplomacy. The Empire does not negotiate, Xanthak thundered. Then the Empire will fall, Veltar said simply. Because the humans won't let us keep enslaving worlds, and we can't stop them. For the first time in his reign, Xanthak felt something alien. Fear. Not of battle, not of death, but of confronting a power so far beyond him and knowing he was in the wrong. What do they want? He asked, his voice soft now. Peace, Veldar replied. The real kind. An end to conquest. Freedom for the oppressed. And a chance for the Empire to become more than it is. And if we refuse? Veltar thought of Admiral Chen's quiet resolve, of Dr. Kim's empathy, of the human technician, who had shared baby photos while repairing a wounded Zephyrian's arm. Then we'll see what they're truly capable of, he said. And I doubt any of us will survive it. The Emperor sank slowly into his throne.